What's up, Bantees? Welcome to another episode of Base Hits and Banter. I am one of your co-hosts, Halo, joined by my BFF1 here.
Sam Fisher.
Wow, full name. Okay, cool. Samantha
They're
Terrace
getting
Fisher,
serious.
everybody. Samantha Terrace Fisher Cook. She's
Who
here,
is
live in
she?
the flesh. Who is she?
Sounds
Um,
retired.
wow.
Halo.
It's still bizarre that we don't play softball anymore, but anywho,
That's a totally different episode topic.
yeah, and we probably need at least an hour and a half, a good solid 90 minutes to yap on that front.
Easily.
But
But
I think with the weekend that we had in college softball this weekend, we could talk for eons about
Eon.
the craziness, the truck stick. I don't know if you saw that between LSU and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot to unpack. Where should we even get started?
Close your eyes and point, because it just could be anywhere. You want to start with LSU, Texas?
Let's start with LSU Texas.
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know, if you're living under a rock and you didn't catch the LSU Texas series and you didn't see Jolie Mitchell play college football for a play, um, she poor Jolie, like she got absolutely trucked. Was she in the baseline? Sure, but seemed a little excessive to me. That's just outside looking in.
Yeah.
But you gotta respect the girl because she didn't get super emotional or whatever. She just channeled it into having one of the best weekends I think of her season, and Texas was able to take two of three
Yeah.
from LSU in Austin. So kudos to you, Jolie Mitchell. Reese Atwood hit a walk-off grand slam. Fun.
That was
She's really
gangster.
good. We haven't talked about her that much. I feel like we should.
She's just
Um,
been kind of like a staple, like she's just been so good that it's just like, oh yeah, no, she's like just still being good.
Yeah, no, it's like I feel it's like a Mike Trout effect where it's like, oh yeah, she hit for the cycle with three home runs
Duh.
and they run ruled someone 18-2. And it's like, oh yeah, that's just what she does.
When you like that, is this news?
Yeah.
I will say on that play at first base, because that's the kind of stuff that like people get into on the internet,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you go back and forth and decide
Oh
who
yeah.
was right and who was wrong.
Oh yeah.
It's a really good learning opportunity for a first baseman, but also for a base runner. There
Mhm.
it's a good learning opportunity, but also, yeah, like it was hard. I saw a TikTok. The LSU player made a TikTok. It was like, okay, you guys, I apologize. I hit her hard. Please stop sending me death threats.
Oh my God. Okay, no one should have death threats.
Right? Like,
That's too much.
what are we
That's too much.
doing with that?
She was in the baseline, but also the girl from LSU, she was not going to go to second base. It was basically the right field.
That's what,
You know,
yeah,
okay,
that's the hard
like
part.
whatever.
That's the hard part for me, I think, was like, dang, she gets second, she would have been hosed if she was going for second base off
No,
the bat. Like,
sauced.
it's not.
Yeah, no.
So I do understand, like there is teaching your players to make contact with a defender when they're in the way so that you can get that base, of course.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she knows it. She said it. She hit her hard. So
Yeah, she did. And
I'm
now
just glad
Jolie
everyone was
Mitchell, I
okay.
guarantee you, will never be in anyone's way again.
Sucks to learn the hard way. I
But
understand as someone who tried real hard to play first base and hated every second. Um, hated.
you have to worry about a lot of different things with like
Yes,
where you're at. I could
yeah,
never
it's the
imagine that.
worst. Like I commend people who play first base because I'm like, I don't like it over here, not one bit.
That's
But I
scary.
understand she went to go, maybe the right fielder was going to try to throw her out at first base, realized there's no play at first base, I'm gonna get off the base, just kind of lost a little bit of spatial awareness, and then bada bing bada boom. But at the end of the day, Texas came out victorious. Um
Yeah.
so that's and everybody is okay. Nobody is hurt. That's what
Nobody's
we love
hurt.
too.
Yeah. That's a very important thing. Um I loved I loved how Texas won these two games because I think it's a great just showcase of their offensive prowess, where they went on a walk-off grand slam, so like uber power from Reese Atwood, and
Yeah.
then they win on Caden Henry scoring from second base on a ground ball back to the pitcher.
Like,
Speed,
man, heads up,
speed.
speed, smart. Ugh.
Oh, so good,
Yeah,
so
and
good. I love that Coach White's center. Like I'm obsessed with that.
why? Yeah, let's go.
Why
I
not? Let's win the game right now. Make them make a play. I love it.
make him make a
Make them
play. That's
make
so
them make a
fun.
play. Make them
Because you
make a
know what?
play.
At the end of the day, you get thrown out, you learn. But if you don't try, you don't. Look
Yeah,
what could have happened if they didn't do that.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
what's interesting now is on the other side of the conversation is LSU. They've lost 5 of their last 6.
Yep.
They were
Against
on,
really tough opponents, but
yes, 100%.
this this has continued to be LSU's story.
Yeah, that's tough.
Year after year, I feel like we have this conversation of like LSU. Yeah, LSU definitely going to the World Series. Definitely like one of
Right.
the top teams in the country, and then for some reason they tend to hit this kind of lull. They've been able to pull themselves out of it in the past,
Yeah.
and I the hope I think for me is like I think college softball is better when LSU is at the World Series and hosting a
Mm,
super regional in Baton Rouge. Um, but hopefully they can pull themselves out of it. It's just been a really tough stretch. Like let's just be honest, and it doesn't get any easier. They have Florida this week, so I mean
man, the SEC.
going going through the gauntlet, like it's really tough. It's really really tough.
Does it mean more, you think?
I think it means a lot more, especially now that now that Texas and Oklahoma are in. It's
Yeah.
not it's crazy. I got a lot of flack for saying on our first Rally Cap show
Oh,
that the
God.
SEC, I know that the SEC could have 6 teams in Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
but think
Yep.
about it, they can
They
because
sure can.
Texas and OU are right there,
Yep.
right? You're
Yep.
gonna have Texas A&M. I'm
Yep.
mentioning Texas A&M for all of the freaking Aggie fans that were in my Twitter
Gonna be
mentions all
okay,
week.
guys.
Get a life, guys. Texas A&M is good. Tennessee, Carlin Pickens needs to be in Oklahoma
She's gonna
City.
be there. Florida.
Should probably throw 81. Florida, I think Florida. I hate to admit this, and we can dive into this series and just go ahead and get it over with.
Sorry.
I think Florida's figuring it out now. I think there was a little bit of a lull, kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Keegan Rothrock gets hurt. Offensively, maybe not as powerful as last year. Hard schedule. Um, Dealing with some injuries, all of that stuff. I think this series, taking 2 of 3 from Alabama after getting absolutely punched in the mouth on Thursday in
Yeah.
game one.
Yes.
I think it really showed a lot about their toughness and grit, and it seemed to me, I don't know what their conversations were like internally, but it seemed to me that they put their foot down. It was like, okay, no more. Like let's play how
Mm,
we can play. And then
yeah.
they get the run rule, and then they get the walk off on Saturday by Corby Otis. So Florida's going to be up there.
Yeah. They
You
gotta
can't
be.
tell me they're not.
But to your
You can't tell
point,
me they're
that's
not.
what that was. You listed 5 right there that are seemingly no doubters.
Right off the bat, and you can't. I would love for someone to debate that at this point.
I don't
Like
know how they could.
right, like UCLA and Oregon, I think both could go.
Yeah.
Maybe depending on the matchup, Texas Tech maybe could go. But
Right.
even still, if you have 3 teams that aren't in the SEC, that's still 5 SEC
5
teams making
SEC
the World
teams.
Series. I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that the SEC will have half of the teams in Oklahoma City.
I think that's very safe to say. That is super, super safe to say. I can't wait. We're getting closer.
Florida State maybe could get into that conversation too. But
Right.
we're, I mean,
It's
it's gonna be a lot.
it's gonna be a lot.
It's gonna be a lot.
Bama, on the Bama note, on the Florida note, is Bama, like, I know it's a bummer that they lost 2 out of 3, but they took one from Florida. They took the series from OU. Is Bama finding their stride? Even though it's
Yeah,
not, like,
yeah. No, I think they are. The hard part about Alabama all season has been like when they've lost, they've beaten themselves. And even still, like
Right.
Corby Otis's walk off, I think could have been played a little bit better. That's coming from an outfielder talking about infield play, so like take that with a
Yeah.
grain of salt. But like there are just little moments in the game where like the walk off run that scored was a walk that was a leadoff walk that got on in the
Hmm.
last inning. Like there are
Yeah.
just things that I think Alabama and Coach Murphy said it in a ton of interviews that it's we're really great, but we can't beat ourselves. And I say this all the time. Like, you don't have to win every game. You don't actively have to win every game. You just can't lose it.
Right.
And unfortunately for Alabama, that's been the case. But I do think with Caitlin Riley throwing a lot better, she stepped up big in that Oklahoma series.
Yeah.
Audrey Vandegrift is like the fastest human being on the planet.
Dude,
To
she's good.
47 stolen bases.
That's so
What?
many.
I'm like tripping. That's a lot. Like
Yeah.
that's so many stolen bases.
Yeah.
And Jocelyn Brisky is her stuff is
Solid.
next level. It's just
Mhm.
about command and controlling the strike zone.
Yeah.
So it's well within their control. If that again, I think they're moving into the conversation of hosting a regional now. Their RPI is in a good spot.
Yep.
Obviously, taking the series from Oklahoma was big,
Dude.
but it's they. I think they are starting to figure some stuff out. But their offense is really good. We've got to give their offense some credit too. They be swinging.
It's nice to see some cohesion. I feel like Bama has
Yeah.
gone through times where it was like, okay, the top of the lineup is solid, and then there's like a hole, and then,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like watching them play 1 through 9 feels like it's in a really good place.
Yeah, they're not afraid to pass the bat too,
That,
which is nice. And you know
yeah.
who I felt that way about this weekend as well was Oklahoma. I don't know how much you got to watch of their series against Mississippi State, but Mississippi State scored first in every single game.
And
And
oy,
they could have easily, with all the pressure that's on Oklahoma, like I feel like they could have easily folded and they didn't. They were just like, yeah, all right, whatever. There were a
yes,
couple of times that Mississippi State put up a 4 spot in the first inning.
that
It
it
didn't
and
matter. It didn't phase them.
it looks
Sooner
like they
magic.
learned from the Alabama series, because like what your point was of you just can't lose games. It seems like Oklahoma, and based on, Patty Gasso's feedback and stuff, was that they weren't doing it, so they
Right.
learned, came back, and Mississippi State is a tough team, is a
They are.
strong team, and to come in and sweep them, that's kind of the bounce back that we're talking about with this team, with Oklahoma.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We got to interview Patty Gasso last night on Rally Cab, which was fun. She's so pure, like so
It's
pure
great.
and so just like to the point and
Yeah.
raw, which we have talked about numerous times how much we appreciate it. I asked her, I'm like, what did you see that was, different from, last week
Mm,
when, I
yeah.
was a little bit happier and this week where you're a little bit happier. And she said it was confidence. I'm like, oh crap.
Wow.
That means OU is about to go off, I
That's
fear.
scary.
Yeah,
That's
when Oklahoma
scary.
gets confident, please watch out. But she was also so cute. She was like, "Yeah, no, I love talking to you guys because when I talk to you guys, it means we're winning." And that's how she closed the interview.
What an icon.
Freaking legend. I love her so much.
I love her.
Thanks,
Gosh.
Coach Gasso. If you see this podcast and listen to this podcast, thanks for
Friend of the
always
podcast,
just
Patty
always
Gasso.
just being great. We love you. We love you, Coach Gasso.
I love that we had her on here before she was on Rally Cap.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
kind of cool. Look at our cute little podcast.
The pipeline to the women's national team.
HPP has helped me find a new identity in like who I am as a player. It's helped show how hard work pays off, and it's really got me excited for the future of our game, the future for me, the future for my fellow athletes, and for what I strive to do in the future in college and then potentially with USA softball in the future.
You want to talk Big Ten rivals? Oregon and UCLA.
Old school.
Old, just bringing it.
Blue blood Big Ten
Mm,
historic
you just
programs in the Big Ten.
goes way back.
UCLA, Oregon.
And
Yeah, let's talk about
Oregon,
it.
Oregon takes the series. That's UCLA's first series drop in the season. So that, I feel like there's been such exciting softball that and we've mentioned this before about Oregon and UCLA in episodes past, but like they're just steadily kicking butt, and then
They
they
are.
meet. And that series really could have gone either way because let me just read you the scores. First game 3-1, Oregon takes it. Second game, UCLA takes it 8-0. And then the third game, Oregon takes it 9-0. What?
Boop.
Whoa, what the heck?
We haven't talked about Oregon enough, I don't think. I they're really good.
They got a staff, they got an offense. They kind of have all the
They've got
pieces.
experience. They have everything. I think they've got a good mix of power, speed, elite pitching, elite defense when they need it. To
Yeah.
your point about cohesion earlier, it feels like they all kind of feed off of each other. Culture seems great. Like, I think this is kind of what we've expected from Melissa Lombardi for a while,
Yeah.
right? Like, I
Yeah.
think it's taken
Mhm.
a while for Oregon to, you know, be what they once were, obviously before
Mm.
Mike White left for Texas. And
Yep.
it's with all the money that that school has poured into the softball program. I love when that all comes together and comes to fruition. It's really nice and fun to see.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember
Go.
Sc Scodex.
Janie Takeda Reed would probably hate my form on this.
Janie Chiquita Reed
Oh,
would
but
probably hate me because the Lions defeated Oregon earlier this year. So,
oh,
sorry.
are you guys still beefing?
Yeah, for those of you who don't follow me on the internet, I posted about Oregon winning and she DM'd me and said, "Is this a subtweet?" I said BRB and then I posted it again and I tagged her.
Level one
Go
trolling.
Lions. But I love what you said about just kind of like what we've probably expected of them. And I realistically speaking, like the major change that that team went through with Mike White leaving, what year was that? My God, I feel like I don't remember.
I don't
It's
remember either, but
it's
it was a lot.
it was a lot. And to get to this point where she, and led this program, like it's
Kudos.
exciting to see. It's really
It
cool
really
and
is.
not a lot, not, I mean, I don't actually know what amount of time. I'd have to do some research, but like, it doesn't feel like that long of a time to get to this point.
No, I don't. It hasn't been. It was at one point they had like, didn't they have like 10
Like,
players on the
yeah,
roster or
like
something?
maybe.
It was a
Yeah.
joke, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
It was dope.
everyone left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because to me, what that says too is like getting the buy-in into the program, into the school, into the location. It's like, as a
Hmm.
recruit, you're going to a visit and you're like, wow, this team's in shambles. Why should I go here? You know,
Right.
why
Right.
should I decide to go here when I can go somewhere else? So they're just making really big moves. And I remember watching them in Palm Springs with Kim because they were playing against Tennessee, and I was like, oh man,
Yeah,
initially
you were just casually watching softball with Kimming. We get it.
she's so cool. Yeah. She like
They're
I
the
was like,
coolest person alive.
you want a water? Like you need some sunscreen? But thinking based on how Oregon has tended to perform, like, oh, okay, this might be a quick game. They they beat Tennessee 1-0 in 8 innings. Like seeing kind of a little bit of what they got going on is pretty cool. And UCLA probably isn't happy about it, but
Well, I look, UCLA's gonna be fine.
they're gonna be fine.
They're gonna be fine. Like they have enough talent on that roster
Yeah.
to they'll make a deep postseason run. I have no doubts about that. They've got the pitching to do it.
They
Megan
got
Grant's
run
unbelievable. Taylor
Megan
Tinsley's unbelievable.
They're Megan Grant and Jordan Woolery hitting back to back in that lineup. There are two of the
That's
top
terrifying.
RBI leaders in the country. So they are run producing.
Yes. How old is Jordan Woolery? Is she like she's got to be
Her
like
and Megan are
28
both
by now?
juniors. Jordan
That's
and
insane.
Megan are both juniors.
That's wild. So
Yeah.
we got to deal with this for another year. That's what you're saying.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's sorry to the rest of the college softball world because
Man,
that's not fair, honestly.
no, God, that punch right there. But speaking of Big Ten rivalries, an actual Big Ten rivalry happened this weekend of Michigan and Ohio State. And I
Mm,
was really hoping for better news for friend of the program, Amanda Chittister, but they done got swept.
yeah. Yeah. We
Ohio
hate to
State
bring
took
this
it.
up. We hate
They
to bring this up to friend of
no,
the program, Amanda Chittister.
we love you.
Ohio State is really good. They
They're
can
good.
hit.
They are
They
smashing.
can hit. And no one, I don't think anyone wants to see them in their regional.
No, there's gonna
So
the episode that we do after regionals is probably gonna be the most insane episode that we're gonna do all season.
that's wild. It's gonna be literally insane. And remember, I feel like last year we got really excited about like a bunch of these like regionals, and then the one we were talking about the most was probably the one that we didn't even think about in Omaha, going
Yeah,
to
not a clue.
Missouri and
Yeah.
making things way too interesting.
Oh,
Um,
sp- speaking of
so
speaking of that regional, Missouri beat Texas A&M over the weekend.
they did.
Missouri has just not been anywhere near my bingo card with what they've been doing this season. Like,
No, but Missouri has played. I'm gonna throw out a stat for you. Missouri's not 500. Okay, like they have a losing record. They're likely not gonna make the NCAA tournament because they won't be eligible. Like I think their RPI is high enough, but they won't be eligible because they're not 500. But you want to talk about it just means more. Okay, they have played 18 conference games. Okay, 9 of those have come against at the time the number 1 ranked team in the country.
9.
They played correct half of their conference games. They played Oklahoma when Oklahoma was ranked number 1. They played Texas when Texas was ranked number 1. And this past weekend they had a 3-game set with Texas A&M, who is the current number 1 team as it stands right now. What's today? April 21st.
That's an insane stat.
Bizarre. I feel terrible for them.
No, that's
But
hard.
also, too, if you watched that series between Missouri and Texas A&M, I'm going to make Texas A&M fans just come apart with this, but Missouri could have swept them. They could have.
I'm
They
dead
were
because
up. They were up in game 1 until Coco Woolley ties the game with a double in, I believe it was the 7th inning. They end up winning the game 7-5. They had to go 9 innings in game 2, and then they
dude,
run ruled them in game 3.
you're right. Holy crap, when you put it that way. I mean, the A&M fans are already mad at you, so like
Yeah, I
let's
might
just
as well just send them.
dig
I
your
might as well
feet
just send
in.
them over the edge. But we need to have Coach Ford on.
More than anything. Yeah,
We need to have Coach Ford on
100%.
because
I think we said this
we love.
last week, the week before. Well, I think we just keep saying it. But it's so interesting because wins and losses, they mean a lot, right? But they don't tell the
Right.
whole story. So you go in and you look at that stat right there for Missouri and you think, well, yeah, the losses are there, but like they were against the number 1 seed. Like you're kind of
They've beaten 2 of them. They've beaten
right,
2 number 1 teams. They beat
right.
Oklahoma and they
And they
beat
beat
Texas.
A&M.
They run ruled Texas A&M, but they won't finish above 500.
At Higginbotham, we put people first. Our specialists are here to serve you, the people you care about, and your success. Insurance, HR, and financial services. Inspired by you.
Now, again, Missouri has lost some midweek games that they probably shouldn't have lost. They've had obviously the toughest schedule in the SEC, so it's still well within their control. I think if they were to make the NCAA tournament, but
yeah,
you can't. Can you imagine being an athlete on that team and be like, oh well, we got Texas, oh we got Oklahoma, and we got A&M. It's like, dude, give me a freaking break.
No such thing. No such thing.
No, not a break at all.
That was really fun. That was a really fun stat that you just gave. Another stat I've got for you. I don't know if you saw it over the weekend. I'm sure you did. But Stanford Cal broke the record for NCAA attendance with 13,207 folks at the game.
That's a lot of people.
To beat the World Series is actually insane.
That's like absolutely wild.
That's including postseason, yeah.
This brings up a very good conversation though, because how many times do we hear like, oh, Road Stadium is sold out, oh, Bogle Park is sold out, oh, Love's Field is sold out, but these venues are their capacity, for 4,000 to 5,000, right?
Right. Yep.
If you put us in a bigger space, we will fill the seats. If you build it, they will come. And I'm like, Stanford and Cal, okay seasons, not anything crazy.
Right.
13,000 people.
Amazing.
To watch an old school ACC matchup.
People showing up for the ACC. in
People, look, shout out to the
California.
Atlantic Coast Conference breaking a record in Northern California.
Stone's throw away from the old Pacific. We're going with the Atlantic.
Things I didn't have on my bingo card for 2025. No disrespect to Stanford and Cal, but you don't like when you think of that softball series, you don't think, oh yeah, record breaking attendance.
Yeah, no, you sure don't.
That's how big the market is for softball right now.
I'm sorry. I'm still getting over the ACC.
The ACC.
But no, you're right.
They need to change it. They need to change it to the All Coast Conference instead of
Yes.
Atlantic.
Yeah, the all just
They're literally
America.
the
The
America
United States of
Coast Conference.
America. Yep.
Well, if you think about it, it's all of there's no Midwest. There's
Coast.
none. You
All
gotta
Coast
be
Conference.
you gotta be in a state bordering an ocean for you to be in the All Coast Conference. The coast of the Americas Conference.
We should just call it both coasts.
Both coasts, yeah. And now, Florida State is even too. They're not technically the Atlantic coast side. They're in the Gulf of Mexico now. But
Oh
still,
my God. If
it's
you're
still a
touching water,
coast. You got to be near
you're
water. Sorry,
if
Gulf
you're
of America. I don't want other people to get mad at me.
if you're touching water, that's what happens. But
All coast. Shout out
um
to Stanford and Cal. That was awesome though.
really big stuff. And that it just makes me more excited to see what the World Series is gonna look like, because if that's happening in regular season historical ACC conference matchup, then what's gonna happen,
I love the ACC.
A couple of little small guy notices. FAU continuing to do well. Another hoot hoot.
Hoot hoot.
Another
My alma
is,
mater.
for those of you who don't know, Halo did attend there for her grad program.
I did.
And
Proud grad.
I'm feeling good about this.
This needs to make it through regionals.
Honestly, I can see it happening.
I could too. They've got a really deep pitching staff.
And you know what? When you got a good staff, anything can happen. You could squeak a few runs across. Nevada Reno also doing really well. They're like winning most of their series, and that's a first-year head coach in Victoria Hayward, Athletes Unlimited player. She came in there and she's like, we're not wasting any time. We're gonna be doing good. So
it's really cool to see. Those teams on the West Coast, like I don't think they want Nevada's playing with the house money, I think, right now. Like nothing to lose. We'll probably end up in a regional, likely to win that conference. Throw them in a regional and just see what happens. You remember San Diego State making all that noise a few years back?
Yes.
Vic Hayward was on that staff.
Yes, she was.
So I think she knows a little something about the culture of being an underdog in a big-time regional. So look out for the Wolfpack. How do they do? What do they do?
I don't know, but this feels good.
This feels wolfy. This feels right? Good. This feels Wolfpacky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Vic. Keep doing
my finger up here is having difficulty, but yeah, what's interesting is they just took 2 out of 3 from San Diego State. So that's where like we've been so used to San Diego State being like a powerhouse mid-major lately. Yeah. And then so I just think, seeing a program with a new head coach, a new coaching staff, come out and do well right away. I think that's a really big deal. So shout out to the little guys.
Shout out.
But Halo, another great week of softball.
Another great week of softball. And again, so people don't like mention this, that we didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but Texas Tech did take the series from Arizona.
Right, I did have that written down.
Nyjah's just being Nyjah. There's not a ton to break down in that series, I don't think. I just think Nyjah was being Nyjah, and Texas Tech's bats came alive.
Yes, everything. It's all about timing, right? Like Nyjah being Nyjah and the bats happening at the same time.
That needs to happen if they want to make a run.
Victory. I don't know. I just did this because it was a W, but I think this is this Oklahoma State?
Oh, maybe. Sorry.
I don't know.
I feel like the Red Raiders, though, they have to have.
This is all I got.
Has to have a. That's really it.
This is all I know.
That's all we know.
Well, folks.
Man, another great week of softball, though.
And you know what? I'll see you here next week to talk about another great week of softball. What do you say?
Can't wait. We're going to have all of the Texas OU breakdown for you guys next week. It's going to be freaking wild.
We are ready. We are so ready.
My
This is
popcorn's in the microwave as we speak.
as it should be. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna crack open a Diet Coke. Sorry
Me
for rubbing
too.
it in.
Me too.
Love and prayers. I don't know.
Peace and
Aunties, we
blessings.
love you so much.
XOXO.
At this time, we would like to thank the USA Softball Store at usasoftballstore.com for our amazing gear this week. You guys can have the exact same gear that Samu and I have literally right now if you go to usasoftballstore.com. So go literally right now, and you can use code BHB15 right now and get 15% off your entire purchase. So buy a lot of stuff, get that 15%, let it all go to use. usasoftballstore.com. Again, that code is BHB15.